Hello, my good people. Welcome to my YouTube channel. It's me, your homegirl, Ladosha Wright, the author of Curly Hair Adventures. The author of Curly Hair Adventures and What They Don't Tell You at the Hair Salon, coming to you live and direct, living the quarantine life, missing the hair salon, but loving the opportunity to commune with myself and challenge myself to grow in different areas as I do my part by staying at home to help flatten the curve. So you can just guess about what time of the year it is. And this is the year or the moment in time that we are actually doing our best to survive during a pandemic. So I hope you all are doing your part at home by staying at home to help flatten the curve so that we're not overwhelming our first responders, our hospitals, and all of those pertinent places, the grocery stores, with us. So we need to be at home so that the people who are out there in the world can be doing what they need to do so that we can come off of YouTube and get back to taking care of you in a hair salon. So welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be talking to the brothers out here. What's up, brothers in the struggle? And so I'm talking to all of my lovely brothers out here about dreads and locks and man units. So I'm hoping that you all are going to find this information very pertinent, because when I get emails from people and some text messages about how to take care of hair, I am getting a lot of requests, not as many, from men saying, you women, y'all don't never think about the brothers. So today, this particular video is dedicated to the men who have locks or want to lock their hair, who have dreads or who want to dread their hair, and then also wear man units. So I'm going to be as succinct and to the point as possible. So let's just dive right on into it. All right, brothers? So here we go. So first thing I want you to understand is that if you are contemplating, dreading your hair, a lot of people, a lot of brothers have some concerns, particularly around dreading their hair because of the stigma that somehow it's very nasty, unkempt, unclean, not sanitary, and the ladies won't like it. So here's what they don't tell you at the hair salon is that when it comes to dreads, I want you brothers to understand that dreads has a contextual context, if you will, that in as much that depending on where you live, where you raised, what part of the world you reside in, that term dread or that hairstyle dread, it has different meanings. And the reason being is because in America, we have a different context of dreads, in as much that narrative, it has a slave narrative where you're talking about Europeans who saw these dreadful Africans, or they saw our hair dread because they wouldn't allow us to comb it. So that connotation of dread as an awful, that has it has a European or an American undertone or context. When you speak of dreads in their true context, coming from an origin of a story in Africa. So now remember, Africa is a continent. So when people are talking about narratives, make sure they're giving you the narrative of what country. So for example, when I visited Africa, I went to the Gambia. So this version of the story of dreads are coming from a Gambian context. You see what I'm saying? So you have to be careful with saying Africa, because there are so many tribes in Africa, and then you have these geopolitical lines of territories that we call like Kenya, Tanzania, Senegal, Upper Egypt, all this stuff. So these are geopolitical lines. But in Africa, they see things in the sense of tribes. So we have to be careful. So one of the contextual narratives about about dreads is that in Africa, those styles were worn by warriors. So they wanted to represent that lioness, that warrior, that fearlessness. And so that hairstyle was pretty much worn by people, by men rather, who were what? Warriors and fearless leaders. So now when you move it over into your Rastafarian or your Jamaican culture, you kind of also hear a little bit of that same narrative where the Rastafarians, it also has a spiritual and is somewhat a religious context where you can't cut your hair and you're just more so you're going to sculpt this and you're going to make sure that it's clean. So that whole notion that dreads are not clean, that's more coming from more than likely people who don't understand the culture or the context of where dreads are coming from. So that I want to make sure that all the brothers out here who are interested in dreading their hair or who have dreads and maybe you kind of got lost somewhere along the way because you're not involved in the Rastafarian community and maybe you're not in Africa but you just wanted to just be free and just let your lioness and your warrior spirit come through. So perhaps what I just shared with you would give you some context so that you can understand that when you're dreading your hair, you are cleaning it. You're just not sculpting these styles called locks. So that's the context of dread. So feel comfortable and confident that you can dread your hair and just understand that it does have a cultural, a historical, a spiritual, and a lot of aspects, a religious connotation to it, and it varies from person to person depending on where you're living at on the planet and who you're vibing with, okay? So now let's move over to locks. Now locks are actual hairstyles. Now these are hairstyles where locticians or hairstylists, barbers, maybe your cousin, where they're going to take a portion of your hair and they're going to part it out and make some type of a pattern or grid and begin to coil the hair using a comb like this. Some may even use a comb like this. And they have a lot of apparatuses that they use to begin to coil hair. So, excuse me, it's up to you to how you want to do it. So, but for the most part, you start your coils off with some type of a very fine tooth comb where you can begin to do this. It can be done on hair that's at least, 1 inch where you can actually begin your centrifugal pattern onto the actual fiber. So at least, maybe 1 inch or longer. You can also embellish that by adding hair. So if you're going to begin to lock hair, some people will add hair into it and then begin to actually go ahead on with the actual artificial dread or artificial lock, excuse me. So that varies from person to person, technician to technician. The only thing you brothers have to be careful of is if you have thinning hair. So if you're receding up in here or you're having some baldness or some thinning in this area, then you want to be careful. Maybe this is not the best style for you, because when you are actually manipulating this your hair, there is some tugging going on. And if you're already thinning or you're beginning to bald, then you may not want to do this, because more than likely you're going to end up pulling your hair out, and then you're going to have these, big spaces in there. And then also you may see that your hairline is going to start going back. So if you are thinning or balding, then I'm going to not recommend that you begin to do any type of coils or adding any hair additions. However, there are some technicians who probably can do something for you and, be very creative with that process. So I just want to make sure you understand that. Now, so once you begin to have your locks going, remember it's going to take some time for the hair to create some type of a vortex where the fibers will actually lock, and then you can begin to palm roll afro, or you may want to have your locks sister locks. So two different things. So palm rolling or just taking your hair and actually twirling them, that's your actual lock style. Your sister locks, these are that actual service is invented by a woman who has a patent on it. So brothers out here, make sure that if you're going to get those sister locks, that you are going to a certified person who has been trained under the sister lock system. Be leery, watch out for people who are making up their own terminologies trying to borrow this woman's technique, because what they don't tell you at the hair salon is that she actually patented that. She also went all the way to the Supreme Court to own the rights to that process. So just be careful with people who are making up stuff and trying to borrow hers when you can just go to the actual source itself. And you can Google sister locks and you're going to come up with a plethora of certified people who have been trained under the sister lock method. Now, when it comes to your regular locks, those have to be maintained as well. Okay, so when you're maintaining them, you have to understand is that you can't begin to maintain them until the actual hair locks. So locks is when the hair, I got a little bootleg mannequin here, and I tried to, let the hair get, well, this isn't as textured as it can get, but you want to make sure that the fingers can't come through. So you can you begin to dread this texture of hair? Can you begin to lock this texture of hair? Yes, you can, but preferably I recommend everybody go to a licensed professional. However, there are some people, I ain't paying nobody, bro, I can do this stuff with my hair. You know, I don't need to go to pay no woman to do my hair. So brothers out here, if you have straighter textures and you want to go ahead and do it, you can, because you will see that people from all ethnicities all over the globe, they don't just have afro, coily hair to have dreads or locks. But when it comes to locks, you have to make sure that the hair has matted and that your fingers can't come through. If not, then your actual formation on the actual lock will come loose. So you want to make sure that you have that in place. Next up, you want to make sure you're actually using a styling product. So here's where we get a little confused, okay? So you hear again, a lot of people are like, oh no, locks are natural and you can only use natural stuff on it like aloe gel, and you can only use stuff like shea butter. So here's what they don't tell you at the hair salon. Shea butter, coconut oil, cocoa butter, black castor oil, flaxseed oil. These are not styling products. They're nourishments. They're hair care products. Now, can you take a little bit of the hair care product and mix it with your favorite styling product to kind of create your own little concoction? Oh, well, yeah, hairstylists do that all the time. But should you use this by itself? No, because remember, in order for the hair to be locked, you need to have the cuticle. So the cuticle would be this on your hair. Okay, so no cosmetologist, no barber would refute this, brother. So trust me when I'm telling you, all right? So all human fibers are made of 3 protein layers. So when you go to lock the hair, you need this outer layer, which is called your cuticle. It needs to be lifted so that the hair can actually mat up and lock. When you use a hair care product that has a low pH, it's going to cause those fibers to actually relax and the hair won't lock. So this is why you should never, ever, ever use a hair care product to begin to lock your hair or to even care for your dreads. You have to be careful because these are super softening, and the low pH will cause these little teeny tiny scales called cuticle layers to relax, and then your lock will just slide out, or your dreads, they won't mat. So these are hair care products. Now, if you want to begin to just start to lock the hair, now of course you can use a gel. They also have these wonderful lock butters. This is Talia Wajid. So there are a plethora of products that you can use to lock the hair. But remember, I like the Talia Wajid product because on the back, she has the language that's telling you for curly, kinky, wavy, coily hair textures. So she's not saying that these are for fine or straight. She doesn't use that language. So it's best to use products like Talia Wajid, but she is like the guru. She is the #1 stunner because she's vested and she got locks, so duh. So you might want to trust some people who actually know what they're doing. And she has an extensive, vast, you hear that? An extensive, vast history with how to care, create, and style lock hair, unlike some of the newer people. And I'm not knocking new people, but I'm just liking people who are very vested into their careers and their craft. So Talia Wajid, I bow down to you because she is one of those professionals, and she's got the woman on. So she's done her thing. So brothers, you can make sure that you're buying those types of styling products. Now, you do have products that are actually geared towards men by the way that they smell and also the color, the packaging, but technically it doesn't matter because most products are unisex. The only thing that you want to understand, you brothers out here, is that all men have, you know, a lot more sweat glands. So biologically speaking, men have more oil glands. More oil glands. So their hair has a tendency to be oilier than women, which may explain why it's difficult for your hair to either dread or lock, because the sebum oil, like this oil that's on my face, that's what the scalp produces. That has a tendency to soften the hair, and you won't get that vortex, that locking taking place as fast, particularly if you have looser textured hair and or if you have more oil. So all men don't have the same number of oil glands, but generally speaking, men have more hair than the sisters, and that's why men typically wash their hair more than us, because the oil attracts bacteria, their hair starts to smell, so they're washing a lot more. Women, we're like, oh, we're just too cute, okay? So brothers, feel comfortable and understanding that locking, it may take a lot longer. So when I say feel comfortable, I'm talking about feel comfortable with the reality that you can't wash it because you'll unravel the actual fibers in the manipulation of washing the hair. So you're going to have to make sure that you don't disturb your starter locks, because the oil, #1, will also start to loosen it up. And then if you're manipulating the fibers with washing your hair, it's going to undo it. So I know what you're saying. Well, dang, what's up? What's a brother to do? Come on now, get to the big part. Get to the good part. So here we're going to get to the good part. So now, brothers, when it comes to going ahead to starting to clean those starter locks, you can use good old-fashioned mouthwash. You see? So I know you like, girl, my girlfriend, my boo thing, she gonna say, you better put my mouthwash down. So hold up, wait a minute. So all you have to do is take a regular bottle, a spray bottle of water, okay? So this is about, like 8 ounces. And you're gonna just put 1 capful of your favorite mouthwash. So why mouthwash? Because mouthwashes are antimicrobial, they're antifungal, and they're antibacterial, which is why our breath smells so good. And so guess what's coming off the scalp? Fungus. So that's going to make it very useful. And the ingredients that are in mouthwashes a lot of times you can find them in your actual shampoos. So ingredients such as menthol, such as eucalyptus, such as methanol salicylate. So I know you're like, Nadoja, that's too technical. Girl, come on back down. So no problem. So methyl salicylate is nothing but winter green leaves. So all that mintiness that we feel when we put this stuff in our mouth, or like sea breeze, it all has the same ingredients. And why are they using those extracts? Because they're super duper antimicrobial, antibacterial, antifungal properties. So they put this stuff in here. Now you can, take some essential oil and you can add it to your favorite carrier oil, such as olive oil, grapeseed oil. So carrier means it's going to carry the molecules. Don't put this in water. You got to be careful because oil and water don't mix. Now, if you just put a little in there, I mean, it's okay, but just not for cleansing purposes, okay? So make sure you can put a few drops of this, and you can take a towel like so, and you will take this towel, and then you will take your cloth and you're going to physically wipe the debris. So you're going to spray your solution onto your actual towel, and then you're going to take it on your cloth, and then you're going to literally wipe the debris. Now remember, this is more so sanitizing. You're not going to necessarily get the dirt off because this is not a cleanser, okay? So this is going to help with the odor, the itching, okay? The soap part, you're just gonna have to roll with it, bro. I know you're like, Dosh, I was trying to go out on a date with this girl. I was gonna ask for a phone. I was gonna take my wife out to dinner. No, guys. You're going to have to wait until your hair begins to lock. So don't, if you get your hair twisted, on April the 2nd, okay, now I know we can't go anywhere right now. So by the time all this is over with, which I'm going to predict sometime in June, you'll be ready to take your boo thing out, because by that time, more than likely, your hair will either have locked or been on its way. You're already on quarantine, so you might as well let her see you at your quote-unquote worst. So don't be afraid, like, okay, I'm going to be a little bit, it's not going to look as nice. No, you're not going to look nice, because remember, if you start putting that soap on it, you're going to undo it. And no, don't put a do-rag or a stocking cap and try to squeeze some shampoo and then try to pat it. No, because you won't be able to get all of the soap out of the hair. So brothers, don't do that. Just hold off, hold strong. Remember, these hairstyles are about fearlessness. This ain't the time to put your pretty Ricky on, so pipe that down, okay? And so be ready that there's gonna be a very ugly period when you're talking about locking your hair, and whether you're gonna start with coils or you're gonna add some hair and begin to embellish that process. Either way it goes, you cannot manipulate the fibers, and you cannot use soap because you can't rinse it out. So the best thing that you can do is sanitize, which means it's gonna take down the odor and the smell and the itching. The itching is coming from the yeast that the scalp produces naturally. So no, you don't have a yeast infection on your scalp, brothers. Calm down. Like, Doge, you bugging. What you talking about? So that's just natural. So that's the natural flora on the scalp. And then you also have sebum oil. Now remember, brothers, you guys are making a lot more oil than us. So that whole bacteria part is just gonna come up, and heaven forbid you working out, you making love, you in the kitchen cooking more because you at home now, and you're around the house fixing things up. So this is a really good time if you're contemplating either starting your dreads, or if you're contemplating, locking your hair. Now is a good time because we can't go anywhere. You're in the house. You should be flattening the curve, only going out for what you need and coming right back in. So now is a good time. And yes, mouthwash Sea Breeze. These are excellent. Or like I said, you can make your own concoction, you know, with the actual essential oil. I'm not a big fan of tea tree, brothers, because tea tree can make the hair a little bit too hard because the pH is a little bit higher. And so remember, the higher the pH, then that hair is actually going to it's going to tighten even tighter. The lower the pH, the hair is going to relax. And so if you're locking, I know you're like, well, dear LaDosha, ain't that what we wanted to do? Well, you do, but the drawback is that the hair will be too dry. So then it won't lock because now it's too crumbly. So that's a little extra bonus tip on using tea tree oil. I mean, you can if you just must, but scientifically, remember, this is about understanding the science of hair. So brothers, I want you to understand that scientifically, when you use the tea tree oil, it may tighten the cuticle too much. The hair will be brittle, and then when you go to put your gel or your, you know, your lock butter or paste or whatever you're using on it, the hair may not style and the lock may not really lock and mat the way you want it because now it's responding differently with that ingredient. And so that's my take on, you know, using tea tree oil. But takes are like cell phones. You know, everybody got one. So you're on my channel and I'm giving you my advice. And so brothers, I think that that advice will help you the most. So technically, to make a long story short, I just would stay away from tea tree oil for right now. Okay, go ahead on and get you some menthol. You can get you some peppermint oil. Again, wintergreen. So if you like that minty sensation, those will work just as fine, okay? But watch out for your tea tree oils. And if you just must, like, I don't care what you say, Dosha, I'm gonna go ahead on because my wife got some. My girlfriend, you know, my little sweetie pie, she got some in the bathroom. I'm just gonna use that. Well, just remember that if your hair starts acting whirly, you're gonna be like, oh, LaDosha said that. Who is LaDosha? Oh, that's my girl on YouTube. She be hooking up with my hairstylist, okay? So there you have it, brothers. That's what they don't tell you at the hair salon about I lost my train of thought, about dreads and about locks. And then last but not least, when it comes to man weaves, those units, hey, I'm all for them. If you want to embellish your hair by adding some hair to lock it, or if you are balding or receding and you want to get an install of a man unit using artificial hair or real hair, those are very safe. Just remember now, if you're balding or thinning and you don't want to speed that process up, then I would not do that. However, if the hair is already gone and it ain't no coming back and you've been trying to get it to come back for the past 7 years, indulge yourself, you know, make your girlfriend say, what have you done? Oh, I like that. You know, so women, they wear weaves all the time. I don't wear them because, I don't like them. Okay. But anywho, I don't like them on myself, but I do like them on other people. They just don't look too good on me because I got a big old head and this, you know, and all this, that, and the third, okay? However, men, if you really, really like the concept, the notion of just having something on temporarily, you don't want to do an actual, you know, the old-fashioned toupees because that looks too wiggy, then I can understand that. So the man weaves are like your modern day toupees in as much that they're more sculpted to the head. Barbers and hairstylists, they're very creative in their blending with the fabrics that they use. Toupees, they have that wiggy look, and then though some toupees are good, and then you also, last but not least, you have the Bosley follicle restoration concept. That's a service where they cut a graft out of the follicles. You have more hair in the back, and then they'll remove them from the back and place them to the front, and that's done under some type of a light, you know, anesthesia, so that you don't have to be put to sleep. And that's not major surgery, that's an elective. So you're gonna have to wait till after we flatten the curve to get you some Bosley stuff, or maybe not, I don't know. So those are your options. So you can most certainly, most definitely get you a man unit, toupee, bouquets, you know, man weaves, some added hair. Brothers, go for what you know. It's just the style. We're in the house. Do something different. Women would love for you to come home and be a little bit different and change your name to Blair. I'm just kidding. Thank you so very much. I hope you have enjoyed What They Don't Tell You at the Hair Salon for men about dreads, locks, man units, weave, so on and so forth. Thank you so much. Remember to subscribe to my channel. Download either of my books. You can read that to your daughter. Yes, I have Curly Hair Adventures you can download, or I can send the book to you, or you may download What They Don't Tell You at the Hair Salon. It is for men and women. And then last but not least, I have an e-journal. If you want to surprise your daughter or your wife with something to do with their me time, why don't you download my e-journal, and all that's going to be in the information below. Lastly, you can follow me on my podcast, What They Don't Tell You at the Hair Salon. And I also have a blog, AskLadoshaBlogspot.com. And of course, I'm on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat. I ain't got the TikTok yet. Y'all gonna have to leave me out on the TikTok. I catch y'all after we flatten the curve, all right? Okay, you know what I say when I'm always signing out, right, brothers? Because I love you guys so much, all right? We're talking a whole lot of peace, a whole lot of love, and a whole lot of hair. And if you ain't got no hair, ain't never gonna get no hair, don't want no hair, brothers, don't worry about it. You can just do an install or do what? Rub your beautiful, beautiful, beautiful bald head. I love you. Stay home and let's help flatten the curve so we can get back to work. Have a wonderful day.